Good evening, you're watching UTV Live at 6 with Rose Neill and Paul Clark. The DUP leader has stopped short of calling for the Chief Constable to resign following a controversial review into policing in South Armagh.
Speaking a short time ago after a meeting in Belfast, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson warned that confidence in policing had plummeted, particularly in unionist areas, and he said that urgent action is needed. Well, we can cross live to our political editor, Tracy McGee, who's at police headquarters for us. Tracy.
Rose, a very difficult day for the Chief Constable today. First, Simon Byrne faced a very public grilling at the policing board over the controversial plan to change the policing approach in South Armagh. Then this afternoon he had what has been described as a tough and frank meeting with the DUP delegation led by the party leader. Now, Simon Byrne has made clear today that the most controversial recommendations in the review have, in his words, been canned. They are the moving of memorials, cross-border policing operations and on the Irish language. But clearly that has not been enough for the DUP, who say that confidence has completely eroded in Simon Byrne. As you'll hear from both men today, however, they have very different views on the Chief Constable's future.
We could not have been clearer that if the Chief Constable cannot restore the confidence of people in respect not only of this report, and we've given a clear indication of what we think now needs to happen in relation to this report, but in terms of the wider aspects of policing, then I don't see how the Chief Constable's position in those circumstances is sustainable, and we've made that clear to him.
I lead a fantastic organisation, and I go into that organisation regularly to see firsthand the work that officers and staff are doing. And I also get feedback from them about they want to see us improve and modernise, and again that's reflected in this report. I think the constant clamour and controversy can be a distraction, but I remain committed to the mission of improving policing here. That's all I'm trying to do to improve operational policing.
Well, as I said, the first meeting today that the Chief Constable went through was with the policing board. The first opportunity politicians had to scrutinise him over what is in this controversial report. My colleague Paul Riley watched proceedings.
This was a date in Simon Byrne's diary, briefing the board on a review into South Armagh. His first move, clarification on recommendations around police memorials and cross-border patrols.
What is absolutely not true is that all the recommendations are a fait accompli. We are not removing memorials and never have been. We will not be progressing this element of recommendation 6. In terms of cross-border policing, let me be categorically clear on this issue. Wording within the report has been misunderstood. Neither the review nor the police service at any time has considered or envisaged all island policing structures and joint day-to-day patrolling.
The Chief Constable was accused by unionists of again damaging confidence in policing.
Chief Constable, I welcome your words this afternoon, your words of clarification. But there's no question that this South Armagh review report and its handling are another self-inflicted wound on you and the PSNI. And proposals are being brought forward, and it appears have already been retracted within the space of a couple of days because of public backlash, which I think indicates that their inclusion was ill-considered in the first place.
I do, to an extent, welcome the assurances you've given today that the only moving of memorials will be in the event of a station closure. But as they say in politics, when you're explaining, you're losing.
You did have the opportunity to provide the clarity on the media in the last few days, and you chose not to do that. And I think if you'd have done that, that would have eased a lot of the tension and the concern within the unionist community.
No one will pretend it's not a matter of absolute regret that some people have been misled in terms of what we intended to do in relation. Particularly, I think we'd all agree that it's the issue around memorials and how they were treated or perceived to be treated that caused the most consternation.
Among the 50 recommendations, the closure of Crossmaglen Station and plans to normalise policing in the area, moves Sinn Féin says should not be delayed.
It is important that we don't start to pull this apart either, that there's some really, really important stuff. And we talked earlier in the meeting in the private session around patent and how there's still elements of it that haven't been actioned. And I don't want us to be talking in 5-10 years and saying, well, you know, we haven't got there yet with the recommendations from the South Armagh report.
Simon Byrne says it was right that the full 170-page report was brought to the policing board, but it's clear certain parts were ruled out from the get-go. Paul Varley, UTV Live.
So where do things stand now, Tracy?
Well, Rose, I have to say this evening things are a bit of a mess because while it's very clear that the DUP are very angry over this report, despite being asked again and again today, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson did not call for Simon Byrne to resign. Now, that's despite the fact that one of his ministers, Gordon Lyons, earlier this week said that was the party's position. I think what's going on here, though, is Sir Geoffrey Donaldson does not want to fall into the trap of calling for the Chief Constable to stand down, knowing that if Simon Byrne decides not to do so, he himself does not have the power to compel Simon Byrne to resign. And that in itself would make him look weak. Instead, what he's saying is, OK, now we've made it clear our position. You then have to now take steps to try to restore confidence. On the other hand, Simon Byrne, I have to say, well, it looks a bit clumsy the way things have been handled. If it was never the intention to proceed with these very controversial aspects in the report, why were they there in the first place? It does ask questions about the Chief Constable's judgment. So the question now is whether or not Simon Byrne can start to repair some of the damage that has been caused, firstly with the DUP and with the wider unionist community. And I would say that will begin as early as tomorrow.
Tracy McGee, thank you.
To other news now, and a County Tyrone pensioner who police now believe was murdered has been described as a quiet gentleman.
84-year-old John Kelly, who was a former postmaster from Dromore, died over 2 months ago. An 85-year-old woman and a 54-year-old man were both arrested and then released on police bail. Sarah O'Kane reports.
This is a very close community here. Many knew John Kelly. He's been described as a highly respected businessman, a quiet gentleman who was a shopkeeper and postmaster for years. Yesterday, police launched a murder investigation into the 84-year-old's death on the 30th of June this year at an address on Blackwater Road, something that has shocked and saddened people in the area. Now, police say an 85-year-old woman and a 54-year-old man were arrested on Tuesday. The 54-year-old man was questioned on suspicion of murder. The 85-year-old woman was held on suspicion of perverting the course of justice and withholding information. Both have been released on police bail. There has been a police presence in the area over a number of days now, and of course detectives are appealing to anyone who might have any information about what could have happened to come forward.
Another 12 patients who had tested positive for COVID-19 have died in Northern Ireland. 417 COVID-positive patients are in hospital, with 46 of them in intensive care. The Department of Health has announced 793 new cases in the last 24 hours. Almost 2.5 million vaccines have been administered so far, and 40% of 16 and 17-year-olds have been given at least one jab.
It's been over a year since live music fell silent due to the pandemic, but in recent months we've seen a gradual reopening of the industry.
Now, after a 2-year absence, Belsonic is back, and the next few weeks will see acts including Jerry Cinnamon and Liam Gallagher headlining at Ormeau Park. Emma Patterson has more.
We've had the Fela and Custom House Square as the warm-up acts. Now Belsonic takes centre stage. As the music industry rebuilds in the wake of COVID, Belsonic will be the largest capacity gigs we've seen so far, hosting just over 15,000 music fans at each concert.
You either need to have proof of a lateral flow test that's negative, your double vax completed within 14 days of admission, or proof of a positive PCR test within 6 months of arriving, so that means you've got natural antibodies. If you've got one of those three, come on in and enjoy the show. And that means when people get in, that the experience can be, relatively normal
How crucial is it that events like this are successful in terms of the live music industry getting back on its feet?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge supply chain for these events. They generate a lot of tax and a lot of enjoyment for the customers as well, bring international talent to the city, tourism as well. So I think that they're very important, but more to the point, I think it's an important mark for people to show that we're slowly coming out of the restrictions that we've been in and hopefully starting to get back to normal as well.
Final preparations are underway, but there's not much longer to wait. Belsonic opens its gates on Saturday evening. Emma Patterson, UTV Live, Belfast.
Sport now, and Bethany Firth has rounded off this year's Paralympic Games with yet another win. The Newtonard swimmer secured gold in the S14 100 metres backstroke final in Tokyo. And as Conor Dowds now reports, it's the 25-year-old's 6th Paralympic gold medal.
She's champion of Tokyo 2020.
Gold in London, gold in Rio, and now gold in Tokyo. That winning feeling is all too familiar for Bethany Firth.
I'm absolutely delighted. She's deserves it so much. She's had a very challenging season. She's had several injuries which have interrupted her training very seriously, and she really wanted to win that one today, and that was the one she wanted to win most of all.
And it was a commanding win in the pool. Bethany finished almost a second ahead of her nearest rival. It is her 9th Paralympic medal.
I think I'm right in saying it's the greatest number of swimming medals won by any female GB Paralympic swimmer.
And at just 25 years old, who would bet against even more success?
She's hoping to go to Commonwealths next summer. If she can keep fit, there's no reason why she shouldn't go on for quite some time.
A big welcome home now awaits the champion, who is fast becoming County Down's golden girl. Conor Dowds, UTV Live.
Northern Ireland are in World Cup action qualifying this evening. Manager Ian Barclough is without several key players for the game against Lithuania in Vilnius. Stuart Dallas has not travelled to Vilnius for personal reasons. Johnny Evans, Corrie Evans, Josh McGuinness and George are also missing.
Well, it looks like the hot weather has gone.
And Ashling's going to bring us up to date.
A well-earned lie-in. Home means there's always room for 2 more. UTV Weather, sponsored by Phoenix Natural Gas.
Hello there and a very good evening to everyone at home. Well, this week has brought a lot of sunshine and settled weather, but today it seems to have changed. We've had a good deal of cloud around, and over the next few days we're going to hang on to that cloud. The wind is shifting direction coming in from the southeast. On Sunday we are expecting to have a little bit of rain, but into next week it's actually going to warm up and we'll see some good spells of sunshine around. Through the rest of tonight though, for a time the skies are going to clear, so actually temperatures will fall in a few spots to single digits, but by the end of the night, more in the way of cloud, the temperatures will come up to around 12 degrees Celsius. So another cloudy start to tomorrow, perhaps a little bit of mist around first thing in the morning. We will see 1 or 2 breaks through tomorrow, but overall it is a fairly cloudy day. But despite the cloud, temperatures still responding quite well, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius. Now across the rest of Ireland it's a similar story, lots of cloud around, perhaps some brightness the further east you are. Despite the cloud though, temperatures getting up to around 19 degrees Celsius. Then as we head into the weekend, some rain on the way on Sunday.
Bright and early, and all ready for the day ahead. UTV Weather, sponsored by Phoenix Natural Gas.
We're shorter than usual because of the football. I'm back with the late bulletin at 10:30.
From the entire team here at UTV, have a very good evening.
Good evening.